I'm Lucky Loki, and today we're going to be looking at building behaviors. And personally, I find this to be the most interesting blog post they've come out with to date. It is about building behaviors, essentially how they're scripting each NPC in the world to behave in different situations and environments, and oh, it is amazing. So this is going to be the second time that I'm reading this. I didn't really have a lot of time to actually read it the first time because yesterday I was super busy, so I'm going to be going back over it with you guys today. In today's article, we're going to give you an overview of how Hytale's behavior scripting system provides ways to bring NPCs and creatures to life. To do this, we're going to show you some aspects of Torque behavior, how they react to players, their environment, and each other. Of course, these principles apply to Hytale's other creatures too, and all of them will be customizable by modders. As ever, all the screenshots and clips in this post represent work in progress, and details may change over the course of future development. So I don't know about you guys, but I am super excited to see the mods that come out of this game, and can you imagine, like, the adventure maps, the creatures, the NPCs, it's gonna be amazing. I'm really excited for this. So the first video we get to see is an animation of a Torque chieftain running. Not much else to say about that, so let's go ahead and move on. After a creature has been designed and its model and animations have been created in the Hytale model maker, the NPC developers are tasked with bringing it to life using the behavior scripting system. The system uses JSON scripts that call on modular behavior elements that allow us to specify how an NPC perceives the world and how it reacts to a variety of situations. These scripts can trigger animations, changes in state, and more. A very simple example of this would be a script that determines whether a creature that has been attacked flees or attempts to defend itself. More sophisticated scripts can send NPCs chasing after players or cause them to seek out things they like, such as campfires or food. See, I love this concept and how immersive it's going to make the world. Oh my god, I have so much hope for this game. Probably shouldn't get too hyped up, but I mean, come on, look at this. Can you really blame me? We use building blocks to create NPCs from the ground up, says the developer Isof Griffith. Oh my god, I hope I'm not butchering that name. We have sensors that are how NPCs interpret the world around it, and that's how it decides what it wants to do. We then have actions and motions, which are how they will interact with the world, or their target, or whatever it is that they're focusing on. We combine these to build up components and templates from which variants can quickly and easily be derived. And then in the picture we have here below that, it shows a Torque that seems fairly alarmed to see a player running away from him, and then a bunch of code overlapped on top of that. In this example, you can see a snippet of the script that causes Torques to spring into action when they see players. The script handles several elements of this interaction. It triggers an alerted animation, which helps the player understand that they've been spotted. It also initiates a beacon response that causes other Torques within a certain radius to be alerted to the player's presence too. The exact details of this interaction can be precisely tweaked, but overall implementation is grounded in top-level templates that are common to most NPCs. So my understanding is they're saying you can take a template that already has this kind of, animation script to it, and then you can apply it to an NPC of your own design or creation without having to do all the, hard coding in between, right? Because it's already there for you in the template. This modular approach to behavior makes it easier to implement entirely new NPCs or creatures. When you script an NPC, you don't need to specify things like swing a sword or move X distance to the right. Isof explains that simply applying the abstract component like flee or seek is enough. The behavior system then handles the basics of carrying out the desired task. At the most basic level, the easiest way to create an NPC is to use existing templates, he says. These templates are made up of components that we build out of sensors, actions, and motions to make it easy to reuse behaviors across multiple templates. One example of a component is sound detection. Isof explains that this uses a combination of sensors that allow an NPC to interpret its environment. When you drop a new NPC into the world, it should be able to cope with environments that it hasn't been specifically scripted for, or at least to some degree, he says. An important feature of this whole system is high reusability, says developer Eric Reinhardt. It's easy to modify existing behaviors, replace parts, and it's also easy to build up something new. For someone who wants to mod things or create content, the advantage is that it's easy to make simple modifications, Eric continues, but allows for modders to change everything down to the smallest detail. Here's an example. By adding a few extra parameters to the Torque Hunter's behavior script, we can add bears to the list of creatures that cause them to enter an alert state. And the short video shows the code, that they edited to make this happen, and then it shows the Torque, yelling at a bear. So now we have that. Now we've got a Torque Hunter who yells at bears. This is purely an example and won't necessarily do this in the final game. Even so, this provides an example of how straightforward it is to introduce new details to a creature's behavior. And I feel like the modding community is going to have a field day with this, man. Often the behavior set for a new NPC will be mapped out by the design team before it comes to be implemented. Sometimes this means adding new features to the behavior system that expand the possibilities of the system further. Occasionally, however, surprises during development will lead to the addition of new behavioral quirks. Some small pieces get added during the process, Isoff explains. For example, Torques have a sparring behavior where they start punching at each other. When I was implementing this, a defeated Torque would change state. Sometimes they'd immediately switch to a nap state. This was funny because it looked like they'd been knocked out. I implemented it properly, and currently sparring Torques will knock each other out after a fight. The team's intent is to create creatures and NPCs that contribute to the immersiveness of the world by acting independently of the player. By learning how each creature reacts, players can then come up with creative ways to interact with them. For example, Torques have a particular fondness for discarded meat. And then we get a delightful video of a Torque who is just happening upon a piece of free meat in the forest, and he can't believe his luck. I mean, look at how hungrily he goes after that meat, man. But in all honesty, I'm loving this so far. It's going to make the world feel so alive, and that's like one of the biggest selling points for me right now. Man, the Hypixel team is just doing such a good job, and just so many props to them. How the player chooses to take advantage of this information is completely up to them. The team has found that combining lots of simple behaviors can produce a surprisingly lifelike result. I'd created a script for the Torque Archer and was trying to test how well the Archer fires, Eric says. This was the first time when we had the possibility for NPCs to switch weapon. It was amazing to try and pursue this Archer, and when we got close enough, he would turn around and attack with his melee weapon. Having these really simple actions combined together was really rewarding. And I agree with them 100%. All these things that they're adding are making these enemies feel more lifelike, and they're not going to feel like the static NPCs that we fight in every other game, right? They're going to be way more genuine, and I think they're going to be a lot of fun to fight. So in this clip, it would appear that the Torque is sleeping outside. You can actually see his friend sleeping in the tent, but it starts raining. He gets annoyed, and he's like, man, screw this. I'm going to go sit by the fire. In the clip above, you can see an example of several simple Torque behaviors working together. The Torque is napping outside when it begins to rain. This triggers a change of state from asleep to awake, at which point the Torque decides to seek out somewhere warm. He then moves to the nearby campfire and sits down. Several different elements of the Torque's behavior script are involved in creating this moment, but taken together they create a sense of a creature's personality. Our goal with the behavior system is to furnish the player with immersive moments like this, and we're excited to see what modders can come up with when they get their hands on it. Here are a few more examples of NPC behaviors that you might encounter as you explore Orbis. And then we get some cute Quebecs out here sunbathing in the nice beautiful day in Hytale. Quebecs don't need to eat or drink in a normal sense. As plant people, they seek out bright spots and happily sunbathe to get all the nutrients they need. And below we can see a goblin who looks to be, well, happily destroying something. Goblins are fond of throwing bombs at problems. They can destroy blocks and create holes, which is a problem in itself. Good job, goblins. And that is the end of the blog post, and it leaves me with a sense of emptiness and wanting, I'm not gonna lie. But if you enjoyed this video and would like to leave me a like and a subscribe, that would be amazing, and, means a lot to me. And if you want to learn more about Hytale, I have a few other videos out right now. Feel free to check them out. I am also going to leave links to the Hytale website and the Hypixel team as well. Thank you for watching.